Hi guys, I want to do 2 or maybe 3 problems with you really quick before you take the quiz. So you should have a plain piece of paper on your desk. I'm going to do 3 problems with you. Hopefully this helps. Sorry I'm not there. Okay, number 1. Y equals 5x squared plus 3. So your quiz today is going to ask you just to graph this. That's it. So normally you could find the vertex, you could do a bunch of different stuff depending on what form it's in, but your quiz gives you pretty basic equations. So if you want to sketch a graph of this, my best advice to you is just make an XY chart, straight up. So you're going to go X, Y. You're going to look at this and it doesn't have any parentheses like vertex form, which means it's not moving side to side at all. It's just getting taller, getting skinnier, and then it's moving up. So I'm going to use my normal numbers, I guess. -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. Those ones will always work. All right, you're going to take each of these x's and you're going to plug it in for the x. So you take -2 first, and you're going to do -2 squared is 4. 4 times 5 is 20, and then 20 plus 3 is 23. Same thing. Now we're going to take -1, plug it in for x. -1 squared is 1. 1 times 5 is 5, and 5 plus 3 is 8. Get it? Now 0. 0 squared is 0, times 5 is 0, plus 3 is 3. Plug 1 back in. 1 squared is 1, times 5 plus 3 is 8. Oh, it's going to be the same. Again, because there's no parentheses, we're not moving side to side, so we're just going to, these are going to match perfectly, so 23. You're going to go to your little graph that's going to be on your quiz, and then just graph the points. So -2, 23 is going to be too high. -1, 8, left 1, up 8. Over 0, up 3, over 0, up 3. It's going to be my vertex. 1, 8, over 1, up 8. And it's positive, so it's facing up. So then you can draw your graph. That's it. So that way, just making an XY chart is going to work for all of them. When you get down to number 6, it gives you an equation, something like this. So let's do one of these together. Write number 2 on your paper. Number 2 is going to be y equals x squared plus 7x plus 12. Okay, if you come over here, you'll notice that this is in standard form now. It has an x squared, an x, and then a number by itself, a constant. So if you want to find out the vertex, you can definitely use -b over 2a. Yes. But before we do that, we want to get this into intercept form. Remember, if you get your equation into intercept form, you don't have to use an XY chart. If you're like, I don't know what intercept form is, that's fine, just use an XY chart. But if you can, factor it. So what adds to 7 and multiplies to 12? 2 numbers. 3 and 4. So your answer should be x plus 3 and x plus 4. Yes? So now you have these, you can figure out what P and Q are. So P is going to be -3, you got to do the opposite. And Q is going to be -4. Now that you have those two, those are called your intercepts. So you go to the graph, and you're going to go to -3, put your dot there, and then -4, put your dot there. That's where it's going to cross. You already know that. The last thing you need is just your vertex, and if you want to check the poster, it's P plus Q divided by 2. So P plus Q is -7, divided by 2 is going to be -7/2, or -3.5. You can take this number and plug it back in up here, just like we're used to get our second number. So just take a calculator, plug it in. So x squared -3.5 squared plus 7 times x, which is -3.5, and then plus 12. You should get -0.25. there's the bump. Negative 3.5, negative 0.25, that's where your vertex is. It's positive, so it's facing up. You got yourself a graph. If you're stressed about that, don't be stressed. Just use an XY chart. But that's one way to graph it. So you can always plot the vertex, you can always do an XY chart. If you get one of these, you can cheat and use the x-intercepts. But otherwise, just use an XY chart. That'll always work. I'm gonna do one last problem. On the back, last one, number 3. Okay, on the back it asks you to find the zeros for each function. 3. Find zeros. Whenever it says find zeros, all that means is it wants to know what P is and what Q is. So find P and Q. Here's your question. Y equals x squared minus 36. Nope. X squared minus 25. Okay, if you want to find the zeros, if you want to find P and Q, you have to get this so it looks like intercept form. So you need something like this. Okay, there's not a constant term, so you need to come up with something that multiplies to negative 25 and that adds to 0, because there's nothing here. So two numbers that multiply to negative 25 and add to 0 are negative 5 and positive 5. Now that you have this in factored form, P is the first one, but it's the opposite. Opposite of negative 5 is 5. And then Q is the second one, but it's opposite. Opposite of positive 5 is negative 5. So that's your answer. Your zeros are going to be 5 and negative 5. That's it.